full bike ride down Spadina from Eglinton to the waterfront. Let's go! Comments and thoughts are marked along the progress bar on the right side of the screen. Turning south from Eglinton Avenue West onto Spadina, we start our mostly downhill ride along one of the main streets in downtown Toronto. Originally pronounced Spadina, taken from this Ojibwe word that I'm not going to try to pronounce, meaning high place or ridge, Spadina Road stretches about 4.6 kilometers from Eglinton to Bloor, where it turns into Spadina Avenue for about 3.3 kilometers before arriving at the waterfront, for a total distance of about 7.9 kilometers or 4.9 miles for the Americans. This pedestrian is trying to cross to Forest Hill Road. Traffic lights and pedestrian crossings can be sparse in any part of the city, so people crossing like this is a common sighting, whether we like it or not. According to Google Maps, Spadina is about 8.5 meters wide here, and per city regulations, each lane needs to be at least 3 to 3.5 meters wide, leaving a good 1.5 to 2.5 meters to perhaps put some pedestrian refuge islands in the middle of Spadina, at these minor intersections, with some sidewalk paint perhaps, to help them cross one car lane at a time. Put some small signs on the island and it'll act as a bollard, physically and visually narrowing the car lanes, which aims to curb speeding. The 33 Forest Hill bus is the only one running here, starting from St. Clair West subway station to just north of Eglinton Avenue where we started. Also, going downhill here is the best part, but no, seriously, this is kind of dangerous. You can probably judge by the sound of the bike rattling, but the road quality stinks here, especially at the sides where the bikes are supposed to ride. Ride in the middle of the lane and drivers may get pissy at you, so you're basically forced to ride over the terrible parts at the side. And you can't just jerk left to avoid potholes, as there may be a car closing in fast behind you. And there's no time to check behind you because you're probably going faster than average on this downhill, and you gotta keep your eyes forward on the road for other potential potholes or cracks. It's narrow and there are too many cars passing, and too many parked cars which could door you. Then again, most of this could be said for this entire route. This is a nice little neighborhood center at Spadina and Longsdale. People are already biking here, and it could use some extra bike infrastructure to encourage neighboring residents to come here by bike for quick trips to the store, restaurant, pharmacy, or bank, instead of driving here every time, then spending time and money looking for parking. Here we see a bollard sign already installed in the middle of the street, likely as a means of reducing speeding down this stretch. It not only shows the speed limit, but also physically and visually narrows the street, which naturally causes drivers to slow down. Spadina gets interrupted here by Davenport Hill coming up, upon which sits the Spadina Museum and Casa Loma, a historic house museum, a landmark with a great view of the city, and a frequent filming and event location. This is the hill that probably deters most people from biking up Spadina unless they have electric assist. Around this turn is where we go from one lane to two, but going the other direction, two car lanes get squeezed into one lane right as the road turns. So if you're climbing this hill on a bike around this curve as cars try to squeeze past you, you'll likely find it especially unsafe compared to biking up other hills. On the right, we see George Brown College, Casa Loma campus. Coming up, we see the two kitty-corner entrances to Dupont subway station. There are initial plans underway to make Dupont Street more complete. Drivers can still get through, but they're not the primary users of the subway station. By making the street more pedestrian and cyclist-friendly, more people can be convinced to walk or bike to or from the station, instead of driving and causing more traffic. Whether the plan passes the provincial government's meddling is another story. Though it may look like a painted bike lane here, it is not. The city does not designate any part of Spadina as an official bike lane, and there are no bike markings or signage here. This part of Spadina does allow for street parking at certain times, but it doesn't seem intuitive if they should be parking in the right lane only, while leaving the gutter lane beside it open. City, if you want to build a bike lane here, build it with proper separation, please. There's obviously enough space, as you've indicated with the paint already. Here we see the 127 Davenport bus approaching. Starting from Spadina subway station up ahead, it passes Dupont station, then turns west on Davenport. At best, it comes every 20 minutes. On the left is the main entrance to Spadina subway station, which serves as a transfer station between Line 1 and Line 2 of the subway. The tunnel inside the station connecting the two lines is rather long, so people often choose to change subway lines at the neighboring St. George subway station instead. The 510 Spadina streetcar also originates underground inside the station and goes south along Spadina towards the waterfront, where we're heading. According to the TTC, it carries about 40,000 people every weekday, making it the third most used streetcar route, after the King and Queen streetcars. South of Bloor Street, Spadina Road turns into Spadina Avenue, as the Spadina streetcar tracks emerge at Sussex Avenue 2 lights down and bifurcate the road into two distinct sides. These traffic lights are kinda new to my recollection. I can't seem to find any info about them, but their purpose seems puzzling since there's no road on the right, and the only road is on the left, which only leads to the back parking lot of the UTS High School. Was it built for pedestrians? Cause the pedestrian crossing is only on the north side, and there's no pedestrian crossing on the south side, and the city already makes pedestrians walk farther distances to cross at traffic lights elsewhere. Was it built for cyclists? Because almost no cyclist, except someone who's pretending to model good cyclist behaviors for a video, would stop at a T intersection like this if there were no pedestrians, and wouldn't stop on the other side either if there were no cars coming in or out of the parking lot. For drivers, there are already lights at Bloor just behind here and Sussex just ahead of here. Isn't this extra light just another inconvenience for drivers? It seems to have been built simply for drivers who want to make left turns in and out of the school parking lot. This is where the streetcar tracks emerged from Spadina Station, but they're currently under construction, which is why we see the replacement TTC buses running on the street with the rest of the traffic. Coming up, the street loops around one Spadina Crescent in the middle, which currently houses the John H. Daniels Faculty of Architecture, Landscape, and Design for the University of Toronto, and most of the buildings on the left are also part of its main downtown campus. To the left, on the other side of Spadina, by the LCBO, is the Baldwin-Spadina bike share station. According to bike share stats earlier this summer, this is one of the most used bike share stations in the city. Not surprising, as this is one of the stations closest to Kensington Market, accessible via Baldwin Street on the right, and downtown Toronto's Chinatown, which we're biking through right now. We're crossing Dundas Street here, at the heart of Chinatown. Too much to say about this area. Tons of transit, bikes, people, and cars here because there's tons of restaurants and shops of all kinds in this area, including a few of my favorite noodle restaurants. This one is Richmond Street, and the next one is Adelaide Street. Richmond is one-way westbound, and Adelaide is one-way eastbound, and they both have a separated one-way bike lane on their north sides, which are both heavily used by cyclists and other micro-mobility users, like this skateboarder, offering easy connections between neighborhoods along these streets. A dedicated bus lane starts here. When the streetcar construction started at the end of June 2024, a 20 to 25 minute streetcar ride would instead take upwards of 60 to 70 minutes as the replacement buses were constantly getting stuck in traffic. So the city decided to convert this into a dedicated bus lane all the way down to the Gardiner, and it's expected to remain till the streetcar construction is completed in early 2025. Coming up on King Street, I thought I'd point out that we've passed this school bus a handful of times already. In terms of travel time, most trips downtown are just as fast on a pedal bike as it is in a car. Factor in unexpected traffic, looking for parking, and walking the rest of the way from the car to the destination, and cycling definitely comes out as the fastest way for most trips. Coming up on Front Street, on the right side is The Well, a newly opened mixed-use development featuring residential and office spaces, as well as food, shopping, and entertainment. I tried walking my bike through it to see if security would stop me. Video linked. The bus lane continues here, and there is the odd car that drives in it when they're not supposed to. At Fort York Boulevard, we can see traffic enforcers like this one, especially during rush hour, ensuring that the bus lane stays clear. The main reason for all this traffic is coming up where Spadina connects with Lakeshore Boulevard. Spadina also serves as an exit to the Gardner Expressway, one of two exits closest to the CN Tower. The history and politics of these streets and highways are of course complicated. Suffice to say for now that the Gardner is heavily used by car drivers who live farther from downtown in the suburbs like Etobicoke, Mississauga, or Pickering. One can argue that a disproportionate amount of money was spent on road infrastructure here, which favors suburbanites' ease of travel by car to and from downtown, rather than the ease of travel of residents who live closer to downtown, who are more likely to walk, take transit, or bike. An idea was floated out on Twitter that the bus lane should be converted to a bike lane once the streetcars are back, which I like. There are already tons of people biking in this area, as well as bike couriers delivering to residents and businesses in the area, despite Spadina lacking any real bike infrastructure to protect them. Residents and visitors along this stretch could have a safe, viable way to bike around, and down to the nicest part of their neighborhood, the waterfront. And 36 minutes later, we cross Queen's Quay and the Waterfront Multi-Use Trail, another popular bike route. Spadina Wave Deck on the left, and the Empire Sandy sailboat in front. And that's it. Signing off awkwardly.